Wrestling.
Oh, yeah, and it's a very special edition of Grind City Wrestling. Hello, everybody. I am Dustin Starr. Thank you for joining us here on Grind City Wrestling, a very special podcast because today we are going all in on the Mr. McMahon docuseries from Netflix, and I cannot wait. Be sure to follow the program at Grind City Media. Take the subscribe button, easy for me to say, to Slap City wherever you're watching. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not waste any time. Let's bring in my co-host, my tag team partner, who also binge watched all in one day.
Yeah.
Mr. McMahon docuseries. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Devin Walker, baby.
Yeah, 5-star. When I saw it dropped Wednesday morning, I told myself I'm going to leave work early. I'm going to lock in. We're going to watch this doc because I was so excited for it. This is one of the docs I've been excited for since The Last Dance, maybe. I was tapped in. So
since the trailer was awesome.
Because the trailer had us locked in. So I was like, yo, let's leave work early. Let's get these 6 episodes in. And I got through it. Let's go. We are lit, bro. We are lit. You see what I'm wearing. So it's already a perfect teaser for what we got talking about.
Very topical. Stone Cold Steve Austin. It looks like an original. What is that, 96?
This might be 96, man. This
maybe 97?
This one, the WWF was still a thing. So, yeah, about 97.
Of course, I'm on topic as well.
Yeah, that's not a topic, bro.
Boom, gun show.
Yeah, nobody knows who that is.
Top guy. We'll get into it when we talk about Hulk Hogan here in just a minute.
He's more John Cena, but all right, go ahead.
I don't disagree. All right, so when you said let's do the podcast, let's go ahead and do one, I thought, oh no, how many are we gonna do? You're like, no, all of them. I'm like, oh, it's like deadline day for TV, and I had all this stuff going on. But I set aside time, I tried to watch all 6 episodes in a row, and I fell asleep halfway through episode number 5.
Wait, you don't have to say that out loud. You know that, right?
No, I'm going to watch it. Hey, look, first and foremost, before we really get into it, were you surprised at any of the stuff that came out in this documentary? Because I was not, and I think a lot of wrestlers and people close to the business, they knew a lot of this stuff.
There's some stuff that I thought would kind of raise my brow a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think how invincible Vince was. I think that's the part that shocked me the most. Up until this recent situation, right?
Yeah.
Like from the beginning to the end, like Vince was invincible. Also, another thing, because all these things happen, all these allegations, all these scandals, all this, and I feel like Vince always came through. Like even from the steroid situation, he always was like, I'm gonna come through on top.
That's
the part I was like, wow, bro, Vince was really like that dude.
I guess I didn't realize that it all happened so close together.
Yes.
You know, the WrestleMania, the steroid trial, then I didn't even really know about the referee, the first female referee.
Yes.
And all that stuff all happened at the same time, and it looked like doom and gloom, and he came out.
He came out scot-free, which is the craziest part. Another thing, too, we're going to really dive into this, and this is something because we watched a Monday Night Wars doc. I watched like every Monday Night Wars documentary there is on the planet. I watched every variation of it. The one thing I did not realize, and the documentary does a good job of wrapping this around, what Vince did to the territories back in the 80s, in the early like 80s, when he took the company from his dad.
Yeah.
WCW did to him.
Same thing.
And he hated it.
He acted like it was two totally different things.
Huh? What? It's different. It's different, pal. It's not the same thing.
He was trying to hurt us.
Yeah, like
I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was just trying to help myself.
Like it's like Vince, come on, bro. You're talking at 2 sides of your mouth. Like,
I love it.
But the thing is, like, it's interesting because like this is the person, Vince McMahon is the person, regardless of how shitty of a person he is. He is the person who shaped a lot of my childhood. You know what I'm saying? Like where he's the person who got these characters and created these characters where I'm a 10, 11, 12-year-old. I'm locked in on Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
I'm locked in on Friday Night SmackDown. The shirt I'm wearing right now, I probably had this shirt as a kid because of the characters that Vince McMahon created. So he's a sleazebag 5-star. We'll dive into it. But
man, I loved all the footage.
That man is something serious, man.
The stuff we weren't supposed to see. Like episode 1 was like watching your childhood all over again. All right, so here's the deal. Mr. McMahon is available right now on Netflix. There are 6 episodes. They all dropped at the same time, so you can binge watch the whole thing. Episode number 1 is called Junior. 52 minutes long. Vince McMahon follows in his father's footsteps. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I did not realize until the documentary is that Gorilla Monsoon was the next in line.
Yes, that's one thing I learned.
I had no idea.
That Vince was like, no, he's not taking my spot.
And for Gorilla Monsoon to stay on with Vince and be a commentator, I thought was fantastic because Gorilla could have had that bad taste in his mouth. Like, hey, it was supposed to be me.
Or Vince is just an asshole and he hired him because, you could have been the guy, but you're going to sit at the announce table.
I thought it was very cool. Episode 2 is called Heat. 56 minutes long. Episode 3 is called The Screwjob. Now, I really was not interested in watching a whole lot of the Montreal Screwjob again because so many documentaries have covered it.
Yes.
But I felt like that this one gave us a true insight with Triple H finally coming clean.
Yes, and there's footage of the backstage situation after it happens.
I wish they had the uppercut.
You know they have the uppercut on camera. They
And my gosh,
put it in there.
Brett giving the whole, I don't know how I did it, but
because that's the thing. It's funny because like after the match happens, right? They even have footage of the locker room right after where he asked Shawn, "Did you know?" And Shawn's like, "Yo, I had no idea." He asked Triple H, "Did you know?" And you see like his wife and everything. I'm like, they had real footage. So where's the uppercut footage? Y'all got that uppercut footage. We need it. Even Vince tried to play it off. He was like. He's like, he caught me with my hands down and he kind of hit me. And then Brett was like,
he hit me so hard.
Brett was like, no, we got into a scuffle like we're wrestling. I got my hands under and caught him with the hardest uppercut ever.
I got to get one good shot in on Vince. He deserved it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a minute, too, because I have some notes about wrestlers not wanting to lose championships. Dude, this is like an episode of Seinfeld. How does somebody say, well, my character wouldn't do that? Or I'm not losing that championship? What?
Yeah.
It's a television show. What do you mean?
Show. It's a soap opera. What are you doing? What's happening? Somebody's got to lose. Even like the situation with what's her name that he had to do the fast count.
Yeah, I've got some notes for that too.
Yeah, so
Wendy Richter.
Yeah, he's like, yo, she didn't want to drop the belt, so we had to figure out a way to get the belt off of her.
Right. So I'll take it from her. So episode 4 is Attitude. It's about 55 minutes. Then you have Family Business, which was really good, 65 minutes. And then The Finish, which is 66 minutes. So go check out
If
Mr.
you do the
McMahon.
math, we got any math nerds out there? How many hours of television that is?
Man.
How many hours is that 5-star?
Were you bored watching it, though, at all?
I think there's some parts where they lulled because I think it's some stuff I already knew about, which I was like, all right, cool. But I think for the most part, as a full documentary, it had my attention because, like I told you, I was watching it like, okay. Vince is really invincible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he had all these moments where he could have got, or somebody tried to get him.
He is so good.
Even the writer guy who from the New York Times, Vince was like, I don't know why he's writing all this bad stories about us.
Phil Mushnick. What in the hell is wrong with Phil Mushnick?
He was trying so hard to get Vince, and he tried for years to get Vince, and Vince always just
unbelievable. Yeah. This guy's still going to this very day. What did Vince do to you?
He's trying to get Vince. I think another thing too is I think a lot of the stuff around women in wrestling.
Yes.
I think that's the part too because I was kind of like taken aback by it because it's like, yeah, we know like the Fabulous Moolah. We know about all the like in what's our guy Junkyard Dog was on camera like, yo, yeah, we used to. You know.
Yeah, Tony Atlas.
Yeah, he was like.
By the way, he's coming to Memphis soon. Great timing for him.
I know, right? He was like, yo, we really like treated women terribly.
Now, that was all across the board. So WWE and Vince is going to take a lot of the heat on that. But if you flipped over to WCW, you had the same stuff going on.
Yeah. So, but still, like, from like the 70s and the 80s, it's like in the 90s, and we had the bra and panties matches in the 2000s. It's like, yo, like even like the Sable story, right?
Would never fly today.
It would never fly. You can't put somebody in a bra and panties, but even like the Sable story.
I can't even believe we're talking about.
Where he's like, he has the allegation was Sable sues him because she felt like she was kind of used and on television. Then years later, she comes back and works for him.
Right.
Right.
How is that even possible?
And what does Vince do? He puts him in the storyline. He puts her in the storyline with him. While they have an affair. In the documentary, they cut to Vince and say, so yeah, she came back and worked for you and you put her in a storyline to have an affair. He said, who? And they're like, Sable. He's like, storyline.
Vince sells nothing. He never sells anything. All right, so Vince is dancing. All right, so I'll just go through some of the notes. Vince's dancing when he's singing the song was great.
Yes.
Vince's facial expressions are great. All this old school footage reminded me of my childhood, stuff that I've never seen before. That's why it was so cool. Like a lot of the stuff I've heard before. I've heard all the nasty stories and all that kind of stuff. But seeing all the backstage, like even a Tony Atlas, goodness gracious, back in the day, he looked like $1 million.
Yeah, now he looked like my uncle.
He's still in really, really good shape, though.
He looks like my uncle now.
By the way, No Holds Barred was a great movie. Couldn't wait to see it. I did not know, shut up. I did not know that Vince and Hogan wrote that movie to keep him out of Hollywood.
Yes.
So they said they stayed in a hotel room for a couple of days and had fun and wrote this movie. And one of my favorite parts, what's that smell?
Oh, no. That movie was terrible.
Dookie.
That
Dookie.
It's a terrible movie. Only Dustin 5-star watched. He was the only person that watched that movie on planet
I could
Earth.
not wait to see the movie No Holds Barred.
You're gonna go back and
it
watch
holds up today.
You're
It
gonna
is
go back
awesome.
and watch it, huh?
Yeah, Zeus.
Such a bad
Zeus
movie.
was great.
Such a bad movie. But continue your notes, sir.
Another thing that I really enjoyed, and this is just a small tidbit, I think just from, now remember I have a different perspective because I'm looking at it from
'Cause you're Memphis Vince.
promoter, whatever. I almost wore the shirt, but it's it's discontinued.
Oh, you got a cease and desist?
Oh, I did not. Anyways, Vince producing Hulk Hogan, I thought was awesome.
Yes.
So you actually see Vince kind of like backstage scene talking to Hogan.
Like cooking, like basically cooking up
and
the
he's like,
storyline.
I want you to say, and I'm just making stuff up here because I remember that the Hulkamania could move mountains and blah, 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 blah. And you hear Vince just telling him this. And the next scene is Hulk Hogan, oiled up, jacked, 300 and something pound Hogan, flexing the muscles and saying Hulkamania would move mountains, brother.
I think that to that
see
point,
it come to life.
It's like even that whole situation, he was talking about like having the wrestling imitate real life. He's like, how do you get people to care, right? You have it imitate the life that they go through every day. So it's like, what was happening at the time? They were fighting the USA was fighting a war. He said, I got it.
Yep.
We'll do the Iron Sheik versus Hulk Hogan. It's like that. That's like the brain of like a genius, right? Like these little moments. And I think for me, it was like some of the stuff we talked about previously before. Like it all makes sense now. Some of the stuff makes sense now, where he's trying to tie real life.
Yep.
To some of stuff's kind of weird, some of stuff's sketchy.
Oh, yeah.
Some of it's like kind of like
problematic.
And
creative. When you're creating an episode or 2 episodes every single week, you have to be creative, and not everything's going to stick.
But you understand, because like even he tried that one storyline, he was like, "Oh shit, that wasn't a good idea."
Yeah, it was back out of that one.
The Iraqi storyline. He was like, "Oh no, that's not a." He's like, "He tried it."
Muhammad Hassan got fired because they couldn't do the storyline anymore.
Yeah.
With the turban and all that kind of stuff.
He was like, "Oh no, that's way too close. That's way too close, pal."
It was so much heat, the guy lost his job. But Vince producing Hulk Hogan was my favorite. Hulk Hogan believing in Vince McMahon was one of my favorites too. Because Hulk Hogan, one of the most famous wrestlers, and I know you hate him, and there's plenty of reasons to hate him. But without a doubt, one of the biggest superstars in the history of professional wrestling. But him sitting there, like believing 100% in Vince McMahon.
Oh, yeah.
And where he's taking them and where they've been. And then to admit, like when he's wrong, yeah, Vince was right. The one time I went against Vince and told a lie, I should have told the truth. So there's a whole thing there that I really like the thing. And then, of course, Hogan stabbing Vince in the back, pretty typical for the professional wrestling business.
I thought that was like that whole WCW thing. And if you really like dive into this whole thing, it's like, I think sometimes we can give credit I think I have to give credit in some way to WCW because, and I think they talk about this deeper in the doc, is where when Vince has competition, that's when he works at his best, right? He felt like he was on the ropes with the WCW situation when they had him in a bad situation. He was dealing with scandal after scandal after scandal. People were taking his wrestlers away. His show's not doing well. It's cartoony as hell. People don't care. And he's like, we got to figure this out. It wasn't a fold and quit. It was, we got to figure this out because I do not want to lose. And that's the part of Vince where we talk about him as a whole person. I think that's the part I like about him the most is the fact that the competition, right? He's like, I am not losing. Regardless of what I have to do, I will not lose. And we fast forward, 5 years into the Monday Night Wars. Yeah. Vince came out on top just like he always does.
How great is it that Mike Tyson,
that was wild.
The one that changed the tide for the WWF, WWE, and to have Stephanie on camera saying, well, that was before the rape allegations, and then off camera it's like,
they're like, no.
We knew that?
Yeah, we knew that.
It already happened?
Yeah, Stephanie.
And then her she didn't say, ooh, that's bad. She was just like,
yeah. That's like, It's the McMahon's
He
in her
had
blood.
bitten Holyfield's ear off. He had
Yes.
gone to jail. I think Shane, by the way, Shane McMahon seemed to be the realest dude in the room.
Yeah, we're gonna have a conversation about Shane McMahon, but that's after we talk more about this whole situation.
Business Vince with his dad. I really enjoyed seeing that. It reminds me of doing business with my friends. I know it's on a whole different level or anything, but there is a fine line to where when you're doing business with family or friends, sometimes it does not go very well.
Especially when you're the one who really has the business over everything in your brain, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like business or nothing, and that sometimes it cannot go well. So
Bob Backlund was not the guy for Vince McMahon.
yeah, he didn't like him. He thought he was too. What did he say? He
Too vanilla, yeah.
Too vanilla.
Just a plain old dude. He was good, all-American and all that kind of stuff, but he needed something. And I was very intrigued when they mentioned Dusty Rhodes. And I always knew that Vince really liked Dusty, but I didn't know that he liked Dusty so much that Dusty could have been the guy. Could you imagine if it was Dusty Rhodes instead of Hulk Hogan?
Well, I thought Dusty. So wait, I thought Dusty was because he was in the line of guys, and then he
was
found
like,
Hogan.
hey, could have
He
been
eventually
Dusty.
found Hogan, yeah.
But I couldn't get Dusty. Dusty was not able to commit. So I feel like Dusty just had more obligations over with the NWA and what would become WCW, booking it and being the head guy over there, also being one of the top guys wrestling Ric Flair. But I never thought that Dusty had the physique that Vince wanted.
Oh, Vince is a physique guy.
But he had the charisma, and you saw Dusty cutting those promos. Oh, it was so good. But then to find Hulk Hogan and to recreate the red and yellow and to make this all-American, blonde-haired, big old muscled-up dude to face Iron Sheik was genius.
Yeah, like I said, it's blurred the lines of life. It's like he said it's America. It's America. This is America. What do Americans want to see? And he did a good job with that. One thing as we fast forward as we get towards the Attitude Era, which really kind of got me. This is the part where I really started to take notes. Is so the final show. The final show before Kevin Nash and Scott Hall leaves, right? This is something I learned, and I wrote this down because I thought it was so intriguing.
Crazy, yeah.
So the whole kayfabe thing, where it's like you're not supposed to blur the lines, and it wasn't supposed to be a thing. Even the camera footage of that moment is super like grainy.
Yeah, it's like somebody's cell phone footage in the audience when they didn't even have camera phones back then.
Exactly. So it's like who did this? I think for me the big thing was that it's like, okay, yeah, blur the lines, blah blah blah. Even Taker they say Taker is like the biggest, like, don't try to blur the lines guy. He'll walk around as Undertaker forever.
Yeah.
For me, I wrote this down. If that hug doesn't happen, that Attitude Era doesn't happen.
That's quite possible because Triple H was supposed to be.
This person on my shirt is not created without that hug.
Triple H was supposed to be King of the Ring, right? But somebody had to take the fall, right, for that.
Because Michaels was already a champion.
Vince approved doing something, but I don't think he approved the good guys and bad guys all hugging and then those guys leaving and then leaving Shawn Michaels, who was on top. You can't really do much about that right now. But then you had Triple H, and he's the one that took the fall and did not get the King of the Ring. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold gets the King of the Ring, and he has the moment that shifted everything forever.
Austin,
and it's crazy. Like, that's the thing. When we talk about storytelling, right? If we don't have that moment, what is the Attitude Era? Do we still have the Attitude Era if we don't have that moment?
I think the thing here about Vince is seeing him finally sell something, because they were talking about how much it hurt business when they did that. When Hulk Hogan's heel turn, greatest heel turn of all time.
Greatest heel turn of all, easily. Like, no,
I don't even know anything that's close.
Bro, no, there's nothing close. There's nothing ever going to touch that moment, bro.
But that's really my generation, right? I mean, what?
I was, because that was what, 97?
Your generation's just a little bit, I think it was 96, Bash at the Beach.
So I was 3 years old. So I really didn't know what the hell was going on.
So what's the greatest heel turn of your generation?
It might be the chair shot for the Shield.
Seth Rollins. I was thinking that as well.
I think that's probably from my generation. But I think the greatest of all time is, because, bro, that's when we talk about real life. Like, that's the biggest thing about this documentary is, like, Vince, the stories he told, he wanted it to emulate real life. He wanted to feel like, like, and this is not even Vince, this is WCW, but, like, they wanted to, wrestling as a whole, it feels like real life. That's why people love it so much. It's a soap opera. And to have Hulk Hogan, bro, them people throwing trash, people spit, and they're just in the ring just taking it.
Loved it.
And, like, this is the all-American dude, the one that we love, the red and yellow.
You know how I watched it?
Turns his back on America, 5 stars.
I was at my grandma's house, and she did not have pay-per-view. We were moving, so we stayed at her house for a couple of days or whatever, and I watched the wiggle screen. You know how like you turn it on the channel and it would be like, and you can hear it.
Yeah.
And so I was hearing it, and every now and then I'd get a glimpse of what was going on. And I remember running in there going, oh my God, Dad, you're not going to believe this. It was Hulk Hogan. It was huge.
Hulk Hogan.
I watched it on a messed up.
That is the greatest heel turn.
Didn't order the pay-per-view. Now, all this great stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah, this is
about Vince.
Yeah, this is good stuff.
There's some other stuff. I had a note right here, and I know you're going to hate it.
Go ahead. What do you got?
Hulk Hogan was so good.
Oh, God.
WrestleMania 3, when he walks up, like the entire story of WrestleMania 3, of him, just how he was looking with his fist balled up and walking up to Andre for that face-to-face stare down. It was like a comic book, man. It was so good. Hogan was so good at that time.
He was good. Like, and then we found out he's a scumbag.
He's definitely not as cool as what we think. All right, so with all the good stuff that we talked about,
I
actually received a text message because I tweeted out that I'm watching this, and BLJ, who's the best hype man in the NBA, he was watching too, and he texted me. That man just said statute of limitations would have been up.
Yeah, Vince is definitely out of pocket. He's definitely out of pocket, bro.
Well,
from that, go ahead.
Well, the sex was consensual, and besides, the statute of limitations had already been up if it was rape.
I said, I had to rewind it. I said, did he say what I think he just said?
Did BLJ text me? We almost watching at the same time, and I'm like, what did he just say?
Yeah, he's out of pocket, bro. Even the Sable thing I just brought up, like having the Sable sue him. And then he has a storyline where he's having an affair with Sable, and they ask him on camera. He's like, "Huh? What? Who's that?"
Yeah.
Storylines. Then you see? Have you gotten to the Trish Stratus story yet?
Yes. Bark like a dog.
He's like, bark like a dog.
But now
bark like a dog. That is degrading. You can say it's television.
Listen to Trish.
But it's so degrading,
Listen
bro.
to Trish, though. Trish said, we knew the comeuppance was at WrestleMania.
Yes, and they told a great story.
Vince has always preached that no matter how distasteful that he treated whatever in the storylines, they always got it back. And Trish Stratus got it back on the grandest stage of them all at WrestleMania. And so she said they responded the way we thought they were.
That's fine, but still, like, even come on, bro. Like the kiss.
Bark like a dog.
Bark like a dog. Take your clothes off.
Get down on your knees.
It's like, yo, what has happened? Like, even though there's a story in episode 6 where, remember Ashley?
Yeah.
Where Ashley had some stuff. She brought up some stuff, and then they played the tape back of all these situations where Vince is like making her look bad on TV because he didn't want to have sex with her. It's like, yo, like,
not cool.
It's like, we talk about blurring the lines too. It's like, okay, Vince, you are great at telling a story, but I think at the same time, Vince used his power. If you didn't want to cooperate, and there's some couple scenes where they go back, they tell us, like, people like, do you feel like if you didn't say yes to a story that you would be gone? And people are like, yeah.
Tony Atlas, who are you going to call?
Yeah.
So we have a couple more minutes here. Pat Patterson, I feel like that they really
lock him up.
Yeah, lock Pat Patterson up. Shout out to Tony Atlas. He said he grabbed my pecker.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I've heard stories about Pat Patterson.
Real freak.
Oh, bro,
this is the original Diddy.
You could do a whole documentary on Pat Patterson by himself. Brickhouse Brown, rest in peace, my good friend Brickhouse Brown, told me stories about Pat Patterson watching him in the shower.
That's so weird.
Pat Patterson approached me. He didn't say anything out of pocket, but I felt like that he was setting it up.
He thought you had nice ass cheeks.
He thought I had great hair.
Oh, that's crazy. I don't want a real freak to tell me I got good hair.
Wendy Richter. Let's talk about Wendy Richter real quick because I did not really realize that they had to steal the title off of her.
I did not know that, but I thought that was a very small part of the doc.
This is a thing though. This is a thing in wrestling. This is a thing even on the independent level where wrestlers do get boo-boo face. We call it boo-boo face, where you know when they walk out of the curtain, if you're a little smart to the business, you might already know that they're upset that they're going to lose.
Yeah.
And some people do not want to relinquish the championship. Wendy Richter, her whole career was made at WrestleMania, right? They put the title on her. They picked her for the musician and the whole thing to come together. And then when it was time to take the title off her, she did not want to lose it.
She was not happy about it. And Vince had to do what he had to do.
Vince gives the perfect answer. He goes, what do you mean? It's scripted. That's not your title. It's mine.
I mean, you got a point. It is your title.
It is.
Bret Hart, that's his title, not yours.
Now, Bret, the weird thing about Bret is he had some sort of creative control that dictated how he ended his career or ended that contract, which I thought was really weird. How do you have a scripted television show? And Vince says, I write it. I write the show. How do you?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want. That's what I need for the television show. How do you buck that?
It's hard. It's hard to buck that. But like, yeah, it's hard to buck that because he is the guy writing the show. But go back to we got a lot of time, so let's fast forward a little bit.
Okay.
Fast forward a little bit. And talk about the moral stuff because, like I said, we talked a lot about how good Vince is and how I think he's the greatest promoter of all time.
What about steroids?
The steroids, the Owen Hart thing. Also, I knew about that.
The Owen Hart thing.
But it's like, and when they really dive into it, I thought it was so weird. They did that whole show with his blood on the canvas.
I did not realize that.
On the canvas, bro, and they're wrestling matches, bro. I thought that was disgusting.
I did not realize that until I saw the footage. It was disgusting in the first place, but even more disgusting watching it and seeing the blood stain. And Lawler, did you see where Lawler sat down with Jim Ross? There's a story there where Jim Ross got buzzed in his ear that Owen had passed away, and now you got to break the news. And they counted him down from 10 right there. Imagine you're on worldwide pay-per-view.
On pay-per-view.
You're on fire. Everybody is watching. And you have to deliver that your friend just fell from the rafters and died. His family probably learned about it right then on pay-per-view.
Yep.
Lawler sits down. And he's like, it's not good. Whoa.
Yeah, it's...
Oof.
And that's the part too. We talked so good about Vince, about him being a storyteller. I think as a businessman, Vince is phenomenal, right? He is great, the greatest promoter of all time, one of the greatest storytellers of all time. But as a human being, sometimes that gets kind of like put too high up, like where you do anything to get $1, you do anything to make the business, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because the dude just passed away. He was even on he was like, the arena was blacked out, so I don't know if they really saw it or not.
They didn't see it.
It's like, no, come on, bro. A dude just died, man.
Oof. Yeah, that was tough.
He just died. Then he was like, come to find out it was a faulty hook that they gave us. It's like,
so we sued them. They sued us. There was this whole thing.
It's like, yo, that's still as a human being. For instance, let's talk about if someone dies at your show 5-star.
Yeah, we gotta stop.
You're not gonna be like, the show goes on.
We gotta stop it, bro.
Stop the show, man. Like these
whole different level, but yeah, definitely got to stop it.
So I thought that was super interesting. Another thing I thought was interesting that I did not know about was when Vince was doing the car explosion storyline. I did not know that he was doing I'm gonna die, blah blah blah. And the next day, Chris Benoit had his stuff come out. I did not know that.
Yeah, they had to cancel that storyline.
The whole storyline got kibosh because it's like, yo, real life's happening.
And how much money did they spend on blowing up that limousine, by the way?
Exactly. So I thought that was really, really interesting.
A little detail here. I had never heard this. Have you heard the term eating a shit sandwich and liking it?
That's what AAA said, Vince said, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Is that a term that you've ever heard in your real life?
It's very old school.
I thought it was something that was like an old school term that you just said. I got called to the principal's office at WWE Developmental, and they sat me down and they told me, so this must be a thing within WWE, is that sometimes, Dustin, you're going to have to eat a shit sandwich. And you can't complain. You got to act like it's good. And they even did this.
That's coming straight from Vince.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Can I get another one? That came from head coach Dr. Tom Pritchard, but it probably trickled down from Vince because I had never heard that term of eating a shit sandwich and liking it until I worked for WWE. And now that we circle back around here on the dock, you hear it again. It's like, whoa, that's the only place I've ever heard that. So apparently that is a term that you eat the shit sandwich
and you like it,
and you got to like it.
Yeah, that's. I feel like you shouldn't have to do things like I said. It is a TV show. It is a scripted program, but I think there's levels to it. You know, like even like when we talk about like there was a part on the document I posted on Twitter, but I was like, I'll save it. And Vince is like, when Stephanie and Triple H are getting together, he's like, "What if you guys got married on pay-per-view?" Yeah. And Stephanie's like, "No."
Right.
So then he books her in an I Quit match on a pay-per-view
the week before.
It's like, what is... Like, this dude is insane.
Love
man.
it.
It's like, and this, he doesn't care about anything but the money in the business.
The business.
And like I said, that can be a good thing and a bad thing. But when you say, Stephanie, one of the greatest moments, it's supposed to be the greatest moment of her life.
Right.
What if we put it on pay-per-view? And she says no. And you're like, you know what?
That's selfish.
Selfish. I Quit match. Me versus you.
Me and you.
I get to beat the shit out of you
on pay-per-view.
Like those are the moments where I was kind of like, I was like, yo.
All right, I know it's like drinking from a fire hydrant at this point, just throwing all this at you.
It's a lot, man.
I've got a couple more notes, but we want to hear from the people. We want to hear from you guys. What was your favorite part of the Mr. McMahon documentary? There were talk about steroids.
Yeah.
Tony Atlas put plain as day. We were doing steroids before we met Vince.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the steroid thing was like the whole trial and him showing up with the neck brace. That was interesting.
I do believe that was a witch hunt because I honestly don't think that Vince McMahon would ever sell somebody steroids.
Nah.
Now, did he maybe point in the direction of a doctor or whatever, a physician? But I don't believe that he sold or made anybody. You can't make somebody take a shot.
He did steroids himself too. So I was like, yeah. It was
Dave Meltzer, shout out to him. He was cooking the whole episode.
He did a great job on that.
Gets a lot of flack on Twitter. And anytime you're one of the most popular at what you do, and he is the most popular dirt sheet writer of all time, it's hands down not even close, then you're going to have your haters. But guess who was on the Mr. McMahon docuseries? Dave Meltzer.
He did a great job too, man. He did a great job. Shout out Dave. Shout out everybody that was involved in the documentary. Like, of course, there's guys like Ric Flair and some of those guys that you really wanted to hear from. They weren't involved. But I think as far as like characters and kind of like the implemental figure, the big figures that really made wrestling, WWE, WWF what it was. Because like I said, I think that this era, the Attitude Era is the most influential era of wrestling ever. But I think you don't have any of these eras all together without Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Absolutely. He wanted to be billionaire versus billionaire, or he wasn't a billionaire at the time, but making it look like Ted Turner was the one coming after him. And all the while it was Eric Bischoff just using Ted Turner's money.
I thought one other bit I thought it was hilarious. And Eric Bischoff brought this up on it. He said, Vince, you basically copied everything I did. And Vince was like, but I did it better.
I did it better. To his credit, Eric even said that he did it better.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all the time we have on this Mr. McMahon edition.
Oh, we got to go.
Yeah, we got to go.
But Vince, you are a scumbag, but you are amazing at creating characters, my guy.
Pose the question to the people. What was the best part of the Mr. McMahon docuseries?
We didn't even get into the family part about Shane McMahon wanting to be the next up, and Vince basically saying, I don't think you're fit for this, my guy.
I can't even believe it, because Vince and his father's relationship was like that. Why would he want Shane's to be the same?
And like Shane was like, when he jumped off the cage, he was like, that's the first time he gave me a hug in a long time. Like that.
Crazy.
Like I just, as a promoter, right? Do you think sometimes you could put the business too far in front of what the real vision is?
You think about it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Even like Vince said, you're on your honeymoon, you're on a vacation. You think about it because you have to have new programming. Now it's different. Now you have to have Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, which I can't figure out for the life of me. You have all this stuff, plus you have every single week you have a television show. In their case, they have 3 or 4, plus a huge pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It is non-stop. So those that say, oh man, you're running your own business, blah, 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 you can set your own hours.
You're still grinding.
Bro, you're not setting your own hours. You're working every single minute of every single day.
It's like at some point, bro, like I think for me, it's like, where do you draw the line between like, all right, the business and this is weird. Like the Stephanie pregnant thing.
What you have to do is you have to take this device and put it down and not look at it. That is how you spend family time. You have to put it down.
Because he's like, Stephanie. They're like, so Stephanie, is there any storylines your dad brought to you that you were like, eh? And she was like, I'm not talking about that on TV. They cut to Vince. Well, I wanted to get Stephanie pregnant. I'm like, what?
It's a different sense of humor. It's shock value.
It's very like dark, bro.
It is.
It's but I think that's Vince though. I think
it worked.
It did work. And then when you watch episode 6, you'll see the parts where it gets to we talk about Vince being invincible, and we'll wrap this up. We talk about Vince being invincible. When you kind of watch the end of the documentary, you'll see that they're starting to get some holes in Vince, where he felt like he was invincible but then when some of those lawsuits happened recently in 2023, 2022, I feel like he knew those things were so real, he had to step away. Because in the 90s, he fought every single allegation.
In the 90s, there was no social media where people could all attack at one time and make it an even bigger deal than what it is.
So, but these recent ones,
I'm not saying this is not a big deal. I'm saying like any topic right now, the internet can jump on and make it.
But these recent ones, 5-star, instead of fighting him the way Vince fights him, the way he says, I'm never leaving this business, the way I'm going to die on this table, Vince took a step away. So that leaves me that all this stuff that's happening, this conversations, these allegations, these text messages,
I want to see these text messages.
They put them on the doc.
Okay. I missed, in all full disclosure, I fell asleep at the end of episode 5.
Yeah, I'll watch all 6. I'm a psycho.
I got a late start. I was up till 3 a.m.
Yeah, I think that's very intriguing. I thought that is the most intriguing part for me, is that Vince spent the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s fighting, being invincible, being kind of like the indestructible Vince McMahon, being Mr. McMahon. Yeah, you're not going to kill me, pal.
We're all out of time here on Grind City Wrestling.
Yeah, and then you get to 2023, 2024, and there's chinks in the armor, and you got to hit the door.
Get them out of there. I am Dustin Starr. He is Devin Walker, baby, and that was what we thought.
No chance!
Of Mr. McMahon. So long, everybody.